We're rolling into week 15, and we're catching a lot of questions about Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jerick McKinnon, and what to do with them in fantasy football because it's very impactful right now. It's one loss and you're out, and we have to play this correctly. And there's a lot going on with these two players, with the circumstances of fantasy football, and also the running back position on the waiver wire. Let's dig into this. Before we do, you need to click that subscribe button, tap it with the finger on your phone, click it with the mouse on your computer, because I'm going to be helping you with the waiver wire every single week. I'll also help you submit those lineups. I'm going to be a key resource to your research come August next year for your draft. So you're going to want to click that button so you don't miss out on any of the information when we gather the advanced metrics on all these players and the values. But let's dig in here. Let's look at Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jerick McKinnon, and company. Isaiah Pacheco was ruled out last week, week 14, against the Bills. Was not able to suit up due to an injury. Looks like there's a good chance this week, but we're still watching news just in case he surprises us. But if we're looking at worst case scenario and he is out, we got to look at Clyde Edwards-Helaire versus Jerick McKinnon and what's happening between these two running backs. And against the Bills, Clyde Edwards-Helaire led a team in carries. He also saw 4 targets. Jerick McKinnon had 4 carries and 3 targets, but scored that touchdown. Actually outscored Clyde Edwards-Helaire in fantasy production. But looking at the workload here, wasn't super grandiose for either running back. Wasn't too great. And this was a game script that could propel one running back that had the opportunity to do so. But once we got in game, once we got to the actual game script, not the forecasted one, it just did not do that. It did not play out like that. And look at how many pass catchers we got on this offense. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 of them, maybe 10 if I miscounted. But that's a lot of guys catching the rock there. The ball's being spread around here in Kansas City. So nothing's really being concentrated to one pass catcher right now, which is impacting the value of these running backs because it is really not going to one guy. Things are being spread around a little bit, and that is going to hamper the upside to one of these running backs. And you're looking at a running back committee here where one guy's going to have to cross the goal line or start getting peppered with targets. Right now, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, if you look at things 1 for 1 here, with the snaps, everything's 50-50. However, he's getting more touches and more opportunities. We can't say that's going to be the thing going forward, though. We don't trust Andy Reid. We didn't even trust him last week after he said Clyde Edwards-Helaire was going to be the starter in the press conference. We didn't trust it. We didn't feel good. It was a dart throw situation. We're still in a dart throw situation. We're still in that, but we know that. And we know that even more now. We're in a dart throw situation where we really can't trust these running backs. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is getting the touches, but he's not really a great running back. He's not really a great threat. Doesn't really have much burst. He can be productive in fantasy, but he's not really a great NFL running back. Jerick McKinnon can be productive in fantasy as well because he's using the passing game. He does have some upside. He does have the skill set to give you some explosiveness, especially if he can get on the edge and have some space. However, it's a mixed bag right now. You do not know who's going to be getting the touches and opportunities. Looking at Clyde Edwards-Helaire, has not been productive this year. 8.8 fantasy points against the Bills. Same thing with Jerick McKinnon, but got you 12.7 against the Bills down there in week 14. And these guys are just splitting the workload with Clyde Edwards, just edging out Jerick McKinnon. And it was a rough matchup here, a rough game when we look at the fantasy scoring for these running backs. Jerick McKinnon was a league winner in 2023. He blew up in those final weeks of the season, especially in the fantasy playoffs. Whoever had him really enjoyed that production. We had some indicators there when he was running a lot of routes, getting some opportunities that just haven't came to fruition right now in week 15 in 2023. We're still waiting to see if that emerges, but right now it looks like it's going to be a headache. Looking at Clyde Edwards-Helaire throughout his career, 2023 hasn't been great, 2022 either, but he has been productive in his career. That's one thing we can look at. He can give you RB1 games. It just hasn't happened for quite some time. It's been a while. He can get some touches, it looks like, but can he do something with it? He's going to have to fall across the goal line. He's going to have to do that. Since 2021, he's averaging 8.2 PPR fantasy points per game, and that's including the splash week. So if we remove those, we ain't got much to look at. And I think if you gather the feelings coming out of my mouth, I'm not really sold about this running back committee. I'm not really. I feel like it's a pick your poison scenario. And now we have the New England Patriots for week 15. I do not want to prospect out to week 16, 17 yet. One, you got to win your game. And then two, Isaiah Pacheco should be back. However, the Patriots run defense, sneaky good, 20th best, allowing just 19.6 PPR fantasy points to running backs per game on the season. One game of just 20 plus PPR fantasy points going to running backs. Just one running back doing that. That was Raheem Mostert. 2 games where it was 15 to 20 PPR fantasy points. That was Alvin Kamara and James Cook. Just 2 guys doing that. And then we got a slew of games, 7, that ranged from 10 to 15 PPR fantasy points to the running backs. Only 7 running backs were able to do so. And we had 5 games, not running backs, games, where the team did not have a running back score more than 10 fantasy points. They scored into double digits. We had 5 games like that. So that's a high percentage, that's a high rate, and not many running backs scoring in the 20-plus range. So the upside here going into this week isn't too grandiose, isn't too great, can be locked down. At the best, the top running back in this committee might score you enough to get you by at 10 to 15 fantasy points. That's what we're looking at here. The odds are 15 to 20 range isn't looking good. 20 plus, more than likely not happening. 10 to 15 range is okay. Also good to be scoring under 10 fantasy points going against this defense with 2 running backs, splitting the workload. One not too great. One's older, who was great last year, who's not getting opportunity. I don't think you can trust these running backs. If you got to pick one, just pick one. With the waiver wire being so grand this week, I hope you were able to land another running back. Chandler looks like he's getting workload with Madison out. Foreman looks like he's in check, especially next week against the Cardinals. Chase Brown's an upside play. He's got that burst. He's explosive. He's getting more touches and snaps right now. You can't depend on him, but you can't depend on these running backs. You can't depend on these jabronis. Tyjae Spears, same thing as Chase Brown, but a little bit more dependable. Rico Dowdle, high-end handcuff, but might get used a little bit more down the stretch once the Dallas Cowboys affirm where they're going to be at in the playoffs. So looking at these running backs here, we got some stuff on the waiver wire, and we got other guys like Keaton Mitchell and stuff. When we look at these 2 running backs, which one do you want? Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jerick McKinnon. I think it's a pick one and pray situation. If I had to pick one, I guess Clyde Edwards-Helaire, due to the little bit of information we have here, that he's getting more touches and that the coaching staff said he was a starter going into last week. I don't trust it. And if you rather have Jerick McKinnon, then take him. Take him. If you got both and you need to open up a spot, just drop one. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo style. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is getting more touches, is getting a little bit more snaps. You may want to look at that. Touches can lead to fantasy points. It did not last week. Jerick McKinnon outscored him due to the touchdown. The one that crosses the goal line is going to be the one you're going to want. That being said, when it comes to matchups week to week, forecasting, you can't really predict which one. However, the waiver wire is good this week. Attack that waiver wire. Hope you are able to get one of those good running backs, because some of these running backs are stepping into a grandiose situation where they're going to be seeing a lot more touches and opportunities. Hopefully you could do that. If not, you're playing matchups, you're playing situations, you're taking gambles, you're hoping for the best. That's what you're doing with these running backs. Clyde Edwards-Helaire looks like he's going to be getting more touches going forward. That means absolutely nothing, really, because he's going to have to cross the goal line. Same with Jerick McKinnon, though. That's what he did last week. That's what he's going to have to do as well. Do you trust that? I want to hear about that in the comments below. I want to hear about it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. I want to thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.